Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Abigail, or AJ. Vafiades started her journey with the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative in 2019 as a student ethics ambassador for Kevin Landis in the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs Theater and Dance program. During her studies, she was fortunate enough to interview several guests as a part of Landis's prologue series regarding the ethical culture ingrained in the arts. AJ is excited to pursue her own research project concerning Asian ethics and identity in theater. She hopes this project will be the first of many with the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative and the UCCS Ethics Fellowship Program.
Thank you so much. Hi guys. So this presentation might be a little bit different than what some of the other roundtables have looked like, but I'm very excited to be here today. So thank you guys so much for coming out so early. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of discuss is that this is a very personal project to me in particular. So do any of you, and feel free to answer online too if you have any questions or answers or anything like that, but have any of you guys really connected with a favorite character in like a film or even a play or anything like that? Is there something that like is really personal to you that you really?
Sure. I mean, I have a tattoo. Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Yes, we love Stitch.
Very much.
It's my best friend's favorite movie. Does anyone else feel like they want to share a character that's personal? Yeah, please. It can be anyone.
Good. Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, perfect.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's
Ariel.
such a classic story.
Just always kind of wanted to be her in her life.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to be a mermaid?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a mermaid. So for me personally, it was really Jasmine. I absolutely adored Aladdin when I was little, and I come from a long line of very strong, independent women. So we love that Jasmine, kind of fought her way through some things there. I remember that when I first saw Aladdin, and even like the live action, it was just so like astronomical to me because I couldn't envision like myself in a character until I saw that movie. And so that was something that was just really impactful, and I think ever since then, it's something that I've kind of wanted to share. That seeing yourself either on stage or in film is something that can change someone's life, I think. Asian culture and identity has a long, long, long history in the arts, basically since the world existed. So I won't go into all of it today because otherwise we might be here for like 12 hours. But the things that I did want to touch on are, the first thing is that we are very underrepresented in theater and film, and it has a long history of being that way. We are, of course, getting better, and as a society, I think we are really trying to aim to grow and learn through this experience, but unfortunately, we are really still behind some of the other cultures. There's actually only 6% of all roles in theater and film are Asian, and of that 6%, only 2% are leads. The majority of them are very stereotypical type roles, like in doctors or IT. So I personally am Indian, and so that is something I see a lot, is that if I want to be cast in something, it will probably be a tech role in film. So there are obviously these harmful stereotypes, and also it's like the typecasting, as soon as you walk in a room, people believe things about you. And film and theater is one of the only industries where they're allowed to get away with that, because you have to fit the role, right? Like a lot of who you are as a person is wrapped up in how you look, or how you act, or how you portray yourself in person or on film, right? So because of that, we are really fighting against it. The other thing is that there is a lack of resources and opportunities for this, though. The biggest explanation that I could give is that I've entered into a lot of conversations recently about theater in Asian culture, specifically like in New York, in Chicago, and some of those bigger places where it might be more accessible for people. And one of the biggest things that I keep hearing is that because of the lack of opportunities and the lack of possible plays and films that we can be in, Asian culture doesn't have as much of an opportunity to grow their craft as other cultures do. As they can't get better if we're not put in roles. So that is probably one of the biggest things that I kind of wanted to touch on today. If you guys are interested in like learning about some more statistics and stuff, I also put up this link. The Asian American Arts Alliance does some really incredible work, really fighting and advocating for those kinds of Asian rights in culture and in the arts. So the inspiration for the project, I kind of touched on a little bit of my own personal beliefs on this. Specifically in Colorado, I would love to see our culture here in the arts leading the way for this, because it's something that I think we can always improve on. So I would love the theater community here to do like just as much as like New York or California or Chicago. I think that would be so cool and incredible. I did, as it was stated in the bio, I did work with Kevin Landis as part of his prologue series, and through that I absolutely fell in love with ethics, and I always say to Margie, I really appreciate her volunteering me to apply for this program, because it did really change my life, and I have since then a lot of things through it. So the idea behind the project is that I have gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of incredible artists through the Ed Center and through the Theater and Dance program. Two of them are right here. This was a prologue we did, I want to say maybe in like 2020, maybe 2019. And then this is a Kathakali dance prologue / experience that we did as well. And I remember being so excited to just connect with people on another level that I just wasn't as used to. And someone who is both people, she is a director, and both of them, the dancer and the director, are doing incredible work with this program. And the fact that they are able to, I guess, relate on that level of like striving for like equal opportunities for all cultures was just so inspiring to me. So through that, I wanted to have a discussion because I thought that other people could benefit from hearing from these same experiences. And so I spoke with Kevin, and we are going to both partner in bringing a colloquium to the Ed Center, or maybe Heller Center if we want it to be a little bit more personal. And we are going to be inviting two people, Chay Yew and Vanessa Kai, to come and speak with us. And we want it to be a very impersonal, very very informal, very personal meeting where we can just kind of sit together and discuss some of these topics and talk about what we can do better as a community. So I will be inviting both students, faculty, staff, community members, everyone to the colloquium that will be held in April. And we did officially get yeses from both of these speakers, so that's good. All right. So just some background about our speakers. So Chay Yew is absolutely incredible. He was actually, I would even argue, maybe the full inspiration behind actually having a colloquium. I shared with Kevin that I had seen recently just a few movies and plays and stuff, and I was just really on this topic about Asian identity and where, to be honest, if we're being completely transparent here, I was having an existential crisis. Where I was like, oh my gosh, did I choose the wrong major? What's happening? Oh my gosh. And so Kevin was like, hey, I think you should speak to Chay. And so I had a phone conversation with him. He is so delightful, so down to earth, and he is so insightful. And he was able to just kind of open my eyes to some new things, about growing in this craft and what he believes is okay, and how we should cast transparently and ethically in the arts. And so because of that, I absolutely wanted to bring him here, and he was one of our first yeses. For those of you who don't know, he is a stage director, a playwright, and a producer, and he is born in Singapore. He's based out of New York City right now, but he does things all over the place. So here are a few plays that he has done. He's done Porcelain, A Language of Their Own, Half-Lives, and countless other works as a writer. He is constantly writing. If you guys are ever interested, I definitely highly recommend reading some of his plays. He also does a lot of directing. Personally, I have seen renditions of Oedipus Alray, and I absolutely adored it. It was something that I really fell in love with. He is a huge advocate for transparent casting and epic blue casting as well. So some of his plays that he has directed, he has taken a whole new spin on Asian culture and incorporated it more into these works. He was also the artistic director at Victory Gardens Theater until just recently in 2020, where he did a lot of this work as well. He did a lot of outreach, he did a lot of incorporation of Asian culture, and in fact, I think he's even done some like Asian dance things as well at his theater, which I think is absolutely amazing. So we are very excited to have Chay with us in April. All right. And then we do have Vanessa Kai, and I will say that Chay has actually connected us with her. So that was super sweet of him. I remember that I first saw her in New Amsterdam, actually, and I love New Amsterdam. It's something I'm becoming, I think, increasingly more and more obsessed with, which I'm not a huge fan of doctor shows, but that was pretty good. And I remember like when he told me that like he had a personal relationship with her, would be like more than willing to like connect us, I just kind of fangirled a little bit. I do think that most of you probably have known her from Kung Fu. If you've seen it on the CW, she is the lead in that. And New Amsterdam, she was only in like a few episodes, but she did absolutely a brilliant job. And she's also been in Gabriel's Inferno, the part 1, which I think is lesser known, but it is from Passion Flicks. One thing that I'm very excited to kind of pick Vanessa's brain about is the fact that she is most of the time cast in very specific roles for her. And so I'm very interested in getting her take on her growth as an actor. And she's been acting since she was like maybe 4 or 5, so a very long time. But yes, so she's also based out of New York City. She's also a first-generation American, Chinese specifically. And I'm very excited to discuss her like just being a performer of Asian descent and like kind of her idea on like typecasting and specifically more of the performance side, where I feel like Chay's, I really want to pick his brain more about the directing and the writing side of things. So yeah. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of challenges of ethical casting in the arts. I did kind of touch on some of them, but the biggest thing for me is the accurate representation of cultures, because I also feel a lot of the Asian identity questions that we have stem from an ability to be able to distinguish between cultures. So although Aladdin, the original Aladdin, is my favorite movie, that would be also an example of this, where the new remake has received very mixed reviews about that, because they do incorporate both Indian and Arabic cultures in it, but the story originated from Arabia. So just kind of those questions about like what is okay and what is allowable, I think, as a theater person, as a film person. I also really want to focus on inclusivity and diversity. That you know, as a culture, I think Colorado is really striving for some of these efforts to include diversity in all of our casting, and I really want that to be inclusive of Asian culture as well. And then, of course, I will be speaking with Chay and Vanessa to hear their own experience with these issues during the talk as well. Of course, it wouldn't be an ethics presentation unless I mentioned the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative principles. So the first one that I kind of want to talk on is integrity. Just so that way we're all on the same page, the Daniels Fund defines it as acting with integrity in all situations. The idea behind this one for me is to work against those like harmful stereotypes of only being cast in like secondary roles or even the funny roles. I think an example of this would be like Awkwafina, right? Like she started as just a comedic actor, but I've seen her since then like really grow into her own as like taking on some of these more serious roles. So that is something that I really want to focus on is the idea of breaking some of those stereotypes and showing that, you know, Asian culture can be embraced as like a lead role in some of these films and theater. I also want to focus on like representing cultures accurately when portraying them, similar to like the Aladdin story and several others. I'm sure we all probably have seen one of those movies. I just really want to focus on embracing the culture that the story comes from, opposed to just translating it to one that's like similar, perhaps. I also want to really focus on with this talk to work for advocating for fellow artists who are underrepresented, especially in this community. I know that it can be sometimes a little bit more difficult to embrace things with like a smaller community, but I would really love to really encourage those people in the theater and film industry in Colorado to even embrace the underrepresented. So the next one is trust. So Daniel's Fund defines it as building trust in all stakeholder relationships. So this is both in theater and film, the roles of like the casting director, the performers, the directors, the writers, all of them would be stakeholders in this relationship. And so just building a trust between them, that knowing that the performers can trust their writers to portray their culture correctly, that the directors can trust the performers to not over-exaggerate anything that would otherwise be harmful. And then working towards building those relationships and allowing them to build a bridge of mutual trust, and knowing that we don't have to micromanage each other, just being able to support each other in this endeavor. All right, and then we have accountability. Daniel's Fund is accept responsibility for all decisions. So the truth of the matter is, as much as I would love to snap my fingers and just have everything be perfect, that is probably not going to happen. So we have to be willing to make mistakes, but we also have to be willing to learn from them. So obviously, every once in a while, things will happen. We might not portray a character the way that we want to. We might not write a character the way that we want to. But the importance is to accept that and be like, yeah, wow, I should have done a little bit better, or like I could have done a little bit better, and then working to improve for next time. And I think this is very important, specifically in Colorado's industry, is just knowing when to, I guess, broaden our horizons and learn things, be willing to grow as people. Okay, and then transparency, maintaining open and truthful communications. So this one is a huge one, specifically in theater and film, because we really have to work to be unbiased in our casting decisions, and that can be so incredibly hard if someone is already embodying something when they walk into the room, and especially the fact that most of this is based off of look. And like, there's so much more that goes into it besides just acting ability. Otherwise, everyone could be a brilliant actress or actor, right? So the really important thing is to be unbiased in casting choices. So try to leave some of the bias at the door whenever you're walking into a room. And this goes both for performers, directors, and writers, right? Like, we don't want to have any preconceived notions in our head when we are trying to improve and to increase the diversity in our culture. And then we have, of course, fairness, engaging in fair competition and creating equitable and just relationships. So the idea behind this is really just the fight for justice, right? Like, we really just want to work to all areas of film and theater. We really want to work to bridge that kind of gap between the inequities with certain cultures. And that even goes for like all Asian cultures, right? Like, I can only speak with like my Indian culture, right? But also like all areas, all aspects. We really want to increase fairness and support diversity in that way. We also want to base casting choices, if possible, on the ability to fulfill the role accurately and justly. So we don't want to just cast someone because they might look the part, but then maybe aren't portraying it correctly. We would love for it to be a well-rounded thing for a performer, right? And also sometimes just casting someone how they look can be harmful for the culture in general as well, like if they're not fulfilling the role to the best of their ability, right? So we would just love to increase fairness throughout every culture, if possible. And then, of course, respect. I feel like this really goes without saying, but for the Daniels Fund, it's honor the rights, freedoms, views, and property of others. So respecting the other cultures, I feel like, is a huge aspect of this, is knowing, do proper research, doing speaking to people who have lived these kind of stories that we are trying to portray. Being able to have someone on set who is able to speak to the actual culture, and just being able to, because portraying them inaccurately is doing an injustice to the whole diversity of it. So really just being able to be respectful when writing and performing and directing. And then striving for accurate representation and conducting proper research is vital to this, this initiative. All right, so that's basically it. I am really looking forward to this talk, and I am super excited to share it with you guys. Know that you guys are automatically invited, but more information will come as soon as I have it. But for right now, is there any questions? Does anyone have any thoughts, concerns, comments?
I was just thinking about this towards the end of your talk. There's all sorts of coordinators of things for film and theater as well. You've got like intimacy coordinators and that sort of thing. So how often do you have like a cultural coordinator, and do you think that's needed more? Just to make sure things are accurate.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and I absolutely think that that is a vital portion. And of course, like I know in theater and also in film, we usually have some kind of researcher. So like in theater, it's usually a dramaturg. But I would love to see more of like a cultural specific like coordinator. One that is like strictly there to make sure everyone feels comfortable and safe in their environment, specifically culturally. I think that would be super awesome if we could make that happen.
Not that common.
No, it's not that common. I mean, there are researchers, of course, but it also depends on the theater or the film company about like how important that is to them, that culture is specifically addressed.
Is that budget?
Probably. I can't obviously speak, like I'm not like a theater owner or film company owner, but I would assume that it's probably budget. Or it could also just be a lack of knowledge. Like they might just not think about that if that's not something that they're dealing with every day. So just educating themselves, I guess.
So I'm really interested in this idea of sort of a cultural coordinator, right? And this idea of like accuracy of representation of culture, right? As being a really important piece of the ethics here. Because how to frame this. Think about the Tiffany problem. Have you heard of the Tiffany problem?
I think I've heard of it. But
Yeah, so the Tiffany problem is when you're writing a historical drama set in like Tudor England or whatever, you can't name anybody Tiffany because everybody will be like, no, that's a modern name, right? Like, that's just wrong, right? But in fact, Tiffany is a very old name, so like it would be accurate to name a character Tiffany in like 15th century England.
Absolutely.
But nobody will believe you, right? Everybody will be like, oh, you're getting the culture wrong. And you're like, actually, I'm getting the culture right. It turns out you're wrong about your view of you're wrong about the history of your culture.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, because like I would think that would come into play a lot in really complicated ways. So I'm just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. So I actually have a very personal example as well of this. It's, one of my really closest friends is Latinx, but she is not portraying Latinx. So a lot of the time she doesn't get cast in some of these roles that are for, Latina. And that's something that I also deal with is like, I'm also currently getting into like modeling a little bit more. And that was something I get almost on every shoot is you're very ethnically ambiguous. Like you don't know what you are basically. I get, Hispanic sometimes, I get Arabic, I get Indian occasionally, it's very rare. I think that is specifically something that comes into play a lot there is it more important to cast accurately or is it more important to show that you're casting accurately as far as like looks and stuff goes? And this is something I'm not entirely sure if I necessarily have the answer yet. Because it's something that I too have struggled with, where it's like, especially in a community where like there might not be as big of a population of like Indians or Arabics, right? It's like, is it okay for me to take a role that is not myself, Or like if I were to just be cast as an Indian, I'd probably never be cast at all because there's not very many roles for that. So I definitely think that is a huge question that we should be asking is it more important to be correct, or is it more important to show people that you're correct?
casting, but also like the content.
Oh, for sure, absolutely,
In
yeah.
some sense, right?
And I think people do really get like super excited to like see themselves and stuff on stage, right? But like, you know, the majority of people watching these shows are watching them for entertainment.
Yeah.
So they definitely probably don't know a lot of the history behind some of these things, and they just know what they have been taught. So I think that's also a vital portion of this is being able to educate our public that's also being entertained and watching this.
In this passive way.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, 100%. Yes, I'm so sorry.
I want to give you all a gift. At the Women's Film Festival, there was a phenomenal short film called Anne. Did anyone see it? And it has many of the points that you're bringing up today.
Really?
Please watch it.
Yeah.
It discusses the casting of Anne Frank and the two people who are in the roles. One is a girl who comes from a Jewish background and has a huge history, and the other is an African-American girl. And both points of view, you see casting both of these actresses in the role. It is phenomenal, highly recommend it. You will want to cast both girls in the role. It is dynamite.
How do you advise us to think about whether someone is of or represents a particular culture, ethnicity, or race? What are ethical and respectful ways of engaging this question?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think that this, in particular, for this industry is really hard because almost any other industry, you are not allowed to ask questions.
Yep.
You can't, you can't hire someone for that reason. That would be crazy, right? So I think that the most respectful way, I will say like this industry is changing. So like personally, I put it on my resume, especially because you can't tell from my name because I'm also adopted. So that makes it like extra hard. And a lot of people are also putting it on their resume, but I also feel like having these conversations, like although it might be like uncomfortable at first, is like really good. Like I personally would love transparency in casting, and so that idea of just sitting down and discussing like the best way to approach a cultural identity, or the best way to maybe even like talk about a performer's like background and things, or like a director's background and things. I believe just sitting down and being, most people from what I can tell are very open to talk about their identity, right? So I feel like if we were just to be brave enough to start those conversations, a lot of us would be perfectly happy with that and perfectly supportive of that.
I think there was a moment where you had to kind of fall into the typical, right? In order to get onto the main stage, there was some need for what was expected or the typical or the notions we held so that it can at least get the door cracked open for this idea of a Black cowboy or whatever it is that we have to start somewhere. And I think finally, as maybe at the beginning of AJ's presentation said, is that we finally reached a point where we can start straying away from the typical and straying away from what we expect, and maybe the shock value will be entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you guys have seen like Joyride, but
So good.
yes, that came out recently, and I just remember being like awestruck, I think, because the whole point of this is this girl from Asian descent who feels whitewashed because she was adopted by white parents, and that was something I was like, it's my story, like that's wild, like I can't believe that it's like taken 25 years for me to be able to see that, right? And I just remember like that was some of the question, right, is that like although she was portraying like people could tell, right, that she was of Asian descent, people would just like walk up and like start speaking to her, and she'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I don't speak any kind of language or whatever, and that I just remember like kind of like a cultural identity crisis, because although she is fully Asian, she also was raised not in that culture. And so I remember also having my own kind of, I think, identity crisis as well, where like I think my parents did a really good job where they would like take me to like events and stuff, so like I'm not like completely like not knowing of like my culture, which I really do appreciate. But I do remember kind of that question of like, of not feeling supported as much because I was like, oh, like I'm not in the culture that I am.
So I'm wondering about responsibility. Is it, and when you do your colloquium, I would love to see the juxtaposition between an actor and the director. So responsibility-wise, is it the responsibility of the industry, meaning the directors, the producers, the writers, or is it the responsibility of the actors themselves to demand and identify and whose responsibility should lead the discussion, the baseline, you know, I mean, in anything like that, for inclusion of, not just inclusivity and diversity, but correctness. So you mentioned that you put it on your resume. So I would be anxious to hear from those different audiences, whose responsibility is it?
Absolutely, yeah, and I definitely want to touch on that. I think during the colloquium specifically, but I do know, like, from seeing, as far as like cultural identity, right? I feel like the Asian cultural identity in like theater and film is so far behind from where we should be, compared to some of the other identities, right? And I do know that some of the other identities in this chart have taken it upon the performers more so to advocate for that. Or even the consumers occasionally, right? Like they want to be like, I want to see myself up there or whatever. And so I do want to see like their take is like, just because that has happened in the past, it's like what should be happening though. Like if we had a choice, would that be the same choice that we would make is to put it mostly on the performers and the consumers, or would we prefer to like start with leadership?
Or even education.
Or education, yeah.
Cultural coordinators, why don't we teach them?
Yes, we absolutely.
Right, I mean, we have curators in art, we have, right, I mean, so doesn't that make, I mean, I'm totally not in the theater.
No, it does make sense.
But that's what I'm wondering, you know, who leads this, whose responsibility is it?
Yeah, and so that's my hope is that hopefully a lot of faculty and staff will come to this, and I really want to get there. I also want to give them the opportunity to discuss these, because I know that before, like, sometimes with prologue we'll like have time for questions and stuff. This will be a lot more conversational. So I'm hoping to actually engage in like a discussion, and that is something that I hope really, because I do think I might be seeing the world a little bit with rose-colored glasses, but I also would like to hope that none of these things are happening like on purpose to be like malicious, right? Like I am hoping that it is mostly of a lack of education, like maybe a lack of knowing, or maybe just not even knowing where to go. Yeah. Like how to get these answers. So they're just like making it up as they go. So I think that like the education and the learning to grow is a huge portion of this kind of embracing of diversity. For sure. Is there any?
I just had another thought that's kind of an aside, because we're mostly focusing on accurate cultural representation, but what, in your opinion, do you see as the place for just casting with a melting pot? So I follow a filmmaker that has kind of a troupe that uses a lot of the same actors in a lot of his works, and it's a pretty diverse cast, but there's no stereotypical role, or they're not playing Asian characters, they're not playing Black characters, they're just playing characters, family. What do you see about that role as just one part of this community of film and theater?
Yeah, see, and that's something that I personally love. So I know that one of my favorite scripts is particularly The Wolves. I've been in it a few times now. But there is like at least one character that does have like a cultural identity because it is relevant to the story. However, everyone else can just, it's a chorus piece. So everyone has roughly around the same amount of lines. Like there's not a lead, like they're all together. And you can basically cast them as whatever. And that was something that I really loved, is because sometimes when you see that, you will usually only see like maybe a couple different kinds of people up on that stage and stuff. But with the Wolves, the few times that I've seen it in Colorado specifically, like it's been very diverse in that way, where like they have included a relatively large amount of Asian, like for stage theater. By large, I mean like 2, but like, out of like 7 or 8 characters, that's like a pretty awesome step. And so that's something that I would love to see more, is like some of those stories that don't necessarily aren't telling one specific culture story, they're just telling a story. I would love to see more Asian identities up there. Because sometimes, even if it is a melting pot, sometimes we don't necessarily see that diversity. And so I think that's definitely something that we should strive for.
Also, dynamite play. It's called Matt and Ben. It's by Mindy Kaling.
Yes.
Mindy Kaling plays Ben Affleck. It is fantastic.
So
And talk about like just it's like do your own thing. Just do it. I love it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's something that I would like to think that we are getting at least a little bit better about, is if it isn't like specific to the story of the play or the film. I think the film does tend to seem like it's more of a melting pot. I think that they're just a little bit further ahead in that way. But like for theater and stage, I love to think that we are getting at least a little bit better about like just kind of casting for who we think fits the role. And I love that personally, because I feel like obviously there will be some like just going back to like the casting thing, right? Like you walk into a room and you hold an identity, right? So if you put someone of Asian descent opposed to someone who is like white in a role, they might be portrayed differently just automatically by whoever the consumer is, right? And so like obviously there are still those kind of questions, but I personally love even just seeing someone who is brown on stage. I'm just like, that's like my vibe. I love that we are getting to that point where like diversity is being more and more considered, I think, inclusively. So yeah, but yes, great play. You should absolutely read it, I guess. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how to let's go, but no, I'm interested in this, something you said that sort of came up and then we moved away, maybe not. But I think it's all related, right? So I'm thinking about, I'm gonna show my age, which is that in the 90s there was this sitcom called All American Girl, and I remember watching it, and it was bad. It was like not well done, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
it was like the laugh track was wrong, and like it was right, like it was bad in like 16 different ways. But it was sort of the first sitcom with the all Asian cast, right? Like on mainstream TV, but it was panned, right? It was sort of widely panned, and then it was canceled, and then the next sitcom on mainstream TV was 20 years later, right? It was fresh off the boat, and like I remember there being this big discussion, which was like folks were like, "Do we pan?" Like folks who were caring about diversity 20 years ago, being like, "Do we pan this? It's bad. It's bad. Like diversity." And so I mean, I think this is really naughty and really tricky. But I loved what you sort of said about like bad art is important, right? like
Yes.
not great art is important too, right? Like,
Yes. I think that's something
I'm
that.
just thinking about that tension, I guess.
Yeah, no, totally. And this is something that I think me and Chay will probably, like, I've got to limit our time because me and Chay will just go off on this. But I wanted to pick his brain so much about this because my thought process, again, was just like, every time I see any kind of art, I'm just like, I'm excited to be there, right?
Yeah.
And like, obviously, I think that as someone who does theater and who is trying to get more into film, like I kind of have like a different critical view, so sometimes I'm harsher on things, right? One of Chay's points that I think I'll remember probably for the rest of my life was that we cannot allow Asian performers and writers and directors to get better if we are not allowing them the opportunity to grow. So like if you think about some of the art that I've seen specifically, right? Like it might not have been well done, but also it might have been one of the first movies that gave them the opportunity. So like it was like their first trial run, right? And some of the like theater and plays that have been around forever, they've had a chance to go through this already. We weren't seeing it live, right? They've already tested the like directorship and like how to better cast performers in this role and blah blah blah, right? And so the fact I think that is a very valuable point and very important point, is the fact that like, even if it's bad, I feel like it's good that we even brought here. Like, even that exists is perfect for me. And that's something that Chay like highly supports, is the fact of like, even if it's bad, giving the performers an opportunity to grow or to learn things about themselves, and same with like directorship, right? And so, yeah, I think that's a very valuable point, and I hope that will be one of my questions in the talk.
I'm thinking about the Ryan Murphy show Pose,
Yeah.
which featured for the
yeah,
first
yeah,
time trans performers in trans-identified roles.
Yeah.
And like, if you're like me and you just catch up on all of your television in one big bulk,
Yeah.
like I felt like I was watching over the course of 2 seasons, I was watching performers who had not had the opportunity to be centered grow in their artistry in real time. Like, those actors were better at the start of the 2nd season than they were at the start of the 1st season. And if the critical voice had been focused on super traditional standards for like white men authenticity in acting, and had used that lens to critique those performers at the beginning of the 1st season, in my opinion, they would have raked them over the coals, because folks had not, as you mentioned, AJ, had the opportunity to develop their artistry and their nuance. But then by the time they got to the 2nd season, because it felt like, to be honest, I felt like everyone talked around some of the questions of the quality of performances. So by the time we got to the 2nd season, people had, because of innate capacity, had experience to grow. So like, that's an example of, in my opinion, if people had not had a spirit of generosity, then they would have been like, this is some bad acting. Cut it off. In the way that it sounds like it happened with All American Girl, whereas is there a seed that can be fostered through focusing on other things without them being viewed as like oh, just being easy on insert minority here.
Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.